The Taliban was like about 100 yards this way, and there's a Chinese BMP, mechanized vehicle with a PKM, like a heavy machine gun, and a spotlight for people swimming across the river for us. And we swam right between them in the middle of the night in our underwear, across the river between them to build this route out. We got 17,000 people out of Afghanistan. That doesn't count this river operation. We have no idea how many people use those routes.
Guys, today I'm going to be walking through with Chad Robichaux about his career and some of his history as a Force Recon Marine. Such an interesting story. If you know the story of Aziz, we talk about that, and we also talk about themes of betrayal, and just the most interesting story of how there was a spy inside his team whilst he was on deployment, and now how this guy is one of the leaders of the enemy now. And it's just an interesting story, Chad. Today, as always, I'm actually making lunch at the moment, is powered by Huel. I eat this every single lunchtime. This is the best flavor by far, in my opinion. It's the carbonara. I'll talk about them a little bit later on, but I just wanted to show you how easy my lunch is now. Sometimes I'll double it up. Sometimes I will just have that. It's 2 scoops, boiling water. I love this. And this one tastes freaking amazing. Stir it up. And I'll come back to that later on in the video. It's that easy. Anyway, before that, if you want to find out more about Huel, go to the link in the description. Thank you, Huel, for sponsoring all of our videos. Chad Robichaux is one of the nicest guys ever, but he has had an elite military career. And today, we're going to dive behind enemy lines with Chad Robichaux. Let's dive into the video. Does anything in this room stand out to you?
Oh my gosh, like everything. That's pretty significant value. But this picture is probably one of the most significant things in this room to me. This picture. I know you hadn't read. You probably hadn't got to this part yet in the book, but so this is me in Aziz, and so all these guys worked for us in like a secret program, and this guy, his name's Bashir, and so. In my book, Saving Aziz, I talk about Bashir actually turning on us to the Taliban. And I mean, this guy, like I spent nights on the side of a mountain with him on operations, like I've trusted him, like this part of my team. So he turns over to the Taliban and ends up getting 12 of our teammates captured, 2 Americans, 10 Afghans, and they were all killed subsequently because of him. When our command caught him, he had like a notepad with him with like, Chad sleeps here. This is the time Chad left this day. This is the time Chad leaves this day. The safe is here. Like our patterns of life, everything he'd been collecting on us. He had a VBID, a vehicle-borne IED, driven into our house, leveled our house, blew up our house, and then I chose to go back and operate. And then because of this, I ended up being abducted by, I can't say which one, but a foreign intelligence agency in a neighboring country of Afghanistan. So that's about what I could say. It's redacted in my book, but so I ended up being abducted by a foreign intelligence agency and heavily interrogated because of him. So he spent a long time in the jail in Bagram. He spent some time in the jail in Pul-e-Charkhi, Afghanistan, and then went to Saudi Arabia, where a lot of the Afghan Taliban prisoners were. And in 2011, President Obama did a massive prisoner release. He was one of them. So he went back to the Taliban. In 2021, by that time, he was a Taliban leader. And when the withdrawal began to happen, he contacted Aziz and said, "Hey, you're one of the first people I'm coming for." And sent information of one of our other teammates he had already killed. And so it's when 2021, the Afghan evacs began the Afghan withdrawal began to happen. For me, like getting Aziz wasn't just going to get my friend and his wife and kids. It was very tangible, like he was going to die if we didn't go get him. So this picture really, this us all together when we were a team before that happened. And this guy's still alive in Kabul right now, hunting down our interpreters and slitting their throats and killing their families and raping their daughters. And so he's still out there, you know. So, yeah. So
that is pretty. We can see that photo.
This photo's on the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan. The first time I went into Pakistan, I've crossed the border into Pakistan a number of times, but this is me. So this is just the Torkham border going into Pakistan.
Are these like the actual headscarves you would have wore whilst you're out there and stuff?
Yeah, this one's not. This one is. This one's one I actually wore all the time because he's pretty worn out, and so I kept this one. I've given a lot of them away to my kids and stuff like that, and they disappeared, but this one I kept. And this is a pakul, which is the pakul is what the Northern Alliance would primarily wear. Ahmad Massoud was the leader of the Northern Alliance. If you don't know the story, bin Laden very brilliantly and strategically assassinated him right before 9/11. Like, I think the day before 9/11. So he was the leader of the Northern Alliance, which was the enemy of the Taliban. So bin Laden knew with the 9/11 attacks, we would go after them and we need an ally. And so if he killed the leader of the ally and fragment the ally before we needed them, that was his strategy, and he did. So he assassinated Ahmad Massoud. So wearing this in the Northern Alliance area would have shown your kind of loyalty to Ahmad Massoud and our Northern Alliance by wearing this pakul. You wear this in one town and you're good. You wear this in another town and you'll be killed. It's kind of like being in LA and wearing red or blue. So it's very wise to have somebody like Aziz that can tell you, have this hanging in your rearview mirror right now. Have this, on your head right now. Have this on your head right now. So, we could live there forever and never know that. But, having someone like Aziz, I always say he saved my life like on a few like tangible times, but he probably saved my life every day. Like, don't wear that, don't walk here, don't talk like that, don't speak, don't eat that,
Wow. So you'd go into places where you weren't supposed to wear that, and that'd be hidden under the seat or in a bag or something.
Yeah. I mean, because my job was living with the locals and embedding with the locals, and I like me and Aziz would go ahead of our unit to build all the targets in non-conventional, like areas that non-conventional forces would go. So most of the targets that my unit would go after were like in places that non-conventional military units would go, like, so Pakistan, the federal administered tribals areas, the remote areas of Afghanistan, that's where like all the top 10 bad guys would be hiding in the mountains. And so for our unit, our assaulters of our unit to be able to get there and go and capture or kill those guys, they needed someone to go ahead of them and build all the clandestine infrastructure to make that happen. And that job was called AFO.
But they see a white guy out there.
Yeah.
Were they supposed to see a white guy?
Yeah.
How did you?
But you still wear clothes. You still wear clothes like that from a distance. You look like, but like, I'm never gonna pull off being an Afghan. Like, that's just not reasonable. But this in a war-torn country, especially in Afghanistan, there's all kind of races all over the country. There's Chinese and Brits and people rebuilding and infrastructure, and so it's very common. It's not uncommon to see you out there. So if you're in there doing like something like logistics or some type of construction, if you have a plausible reason to be there, now you can't go there and just say, just make something up off the cuff, right? You have to have a plausible reason to be there. And that was part of my job. What I was trying to do is be able to create a reason to be there, a legitimate reason to be there, to have assets, resources, to create what's called access and placement, so I could successfully get my assaulters, my unit on target to capture, kill those bad guys and get off and then safely get out of the area. And so that was my job. So, and it's a very unique job. It's a very neat job, and one that I didn't even know existed before I did it. But I actually very much enjoyed it. Yeah.
How did you get selected for that in particular?
Well, I didn't even know what I was trying out for. So when I assessed for it, I didn't really even know what I was trying out for. And so I learned after, this is what you actually got accepted for. And then there's a tremendous amount of training that goes into it. This early, like 2001, Delta Force were like the pros at it. The AFO, they were like then Task Force R, Naval Special Warfare Development Group, SEAL Team 6, they started being really good at it too. So over the last 20 years of war, this job's really expanded and it's gotten better. So, for me, I feel like I kind of came in at the very front end of it. I think one of the most popular scenes is an old buddy of mine named Rich Cachocho. His nickname's Q. If you watch the movie Black Hawk Down, he's on a mountain bike in the beginning of the movie, pretending to be a journalist in downtown Mogadishu, and he paints that target for them to get on that building and go in to rescue those people in Mogadishu. So that's what he was. He was the AFO at Delta Force for that job, and he was actually one of the ones that recruited me to try out for this. And so there was a handful of these guys that did this back before 9/11, and then the need grew during 9/11, and so I was one of the first guys, and so a lot of our training was you know, a lot of it was on the job. We went to a lot of good schooling, but there was a lot of it we learned as we went. And you know, now looking back after 20 years of this type of war, like the guys that go do this job now have tremendous training packages, but it's usually people that have like maybe some street smart. They're usually pretty highly intelligent people, but people that have a lot of street smarts and kind of witty and comfortable blending in with all different types of people. I've always been that. I go to White House dinner tonight, or I go hang out in the projects tomorrow. Like that's just my personality. Like I could hang out with anybody and get along with anybody. That's just kind of how I've always been. I kind of enjoy that. I've worked undercover narcotics as a police officer, and so I've just kind of liked doing that kind of thing.
Amazing.
And just like that, guys, it's been a little bit longer than the few minutes that I need, but you have a delicious meal. And it's nutritionally complete, and it has protein in it. I absolutely love this one, carbonara. You can find it linked down below, but we would not be able to do this without your support. Obviously, it's very costly to make these documentaries. They support us to help inspire change, but also they support your health with products like this. Genuinely, it tastes delicious. It has 26 vitamins and minerals, 25 grams of protein per serving, and they have a ton more amazing products with the link down below. We can get exclusive offers like 10% off your order if you sign up to their subscription, a free t-shirt and shaker with your first order. So you can try Heal Black Edition like this, which has a lot more protein. I absolutely love that. 40 grams of protein per serving. Let's dive back into the episode.
This is one of the first Recon units. This is the Bonhoeffer Award, which is, they've given out 3 of them. And this award was given to me by Glenn Beck for the rescue of Afghanistan. For the rescues in Afghanistan, which was pretty significant to me. Like I said, there's only been 3 given out, and each one is custom carved. But Bonhoeffer's like someone I really am a fan of. I first of all, I didn't do anything individually to receive this award. There's so many people that it represents. Like I think the miracle that God ordained to rescue those people, and then the team that said yes and helped me to rescue 17,000 people. So I get to be kind of the represent our group and receive this award. So it was pretty cool to get that. And then this was given by the Intercessor Prayers for America for the same thing, which was very significant because when Dennis Price and I did the last part of the Afghan evacs, it was Dennis Price and I that went into Tajikistan, and for 10 days we did about 90 miles of border reconnaissance, and then we swam across the Panjshir River in Afghanistan every night to build routes out for the women and children there. And that was past the Taliban, the Chinese, like the Russians. And so we knew going into it, it was going to be very dangerous, and just the 2 of us out there by ourselves, doing this work. So it was scary. And so the Intercessor Prayers for America is thousands of people so we contacted them and said, hey, will you guys form a group to pray for us while we're out there? They didn't know any details, but there was thousands of people like praying for Dennis and I when we were out there swimming across the river every night. And, they didn't know who they were praying for. We didn't know who was praying for us, but we watched miracles happen. And, and all these women, because of us going there, all these women and little girls got to get out of Afghanistan and not become sex slaves.
What was the number?
We got 17,000 people out of Afghanistan. That doesn't count this river operation. We have no idea how many people use those routes to get out. When I went to get this award, it was kind of overwhelming because they put up on the screen these text messages that were going on that we never knew about. That people, like all these thousands of people that are praying for Dennis and I while we're out there. And, there was times it was really scary, but there was times I just felt a tremendous peace. And like there was one time we swam between, the Taliban was like about 100 yards this way, and there was a Chinese BMP, mechanized vehicle with a PKM, like a heavy machine gun, and a spotlight for people swimming across the river for us. And we swam right between them in the middle of the night in underwear with our clothes and rafting bags across the river between them to build this route out. And, it's like, and the whole thing was just completely miraculous. And we just had this tremendous peace the whole time. And I believe it was because of these thousands of people that were just in this Intercessors of Prayers for America. They didn't know what they were praying. They just knew that 2 guys were out saving women and little girls. And they knew they were going to pray. And they were praying 24/7 for us for 10 days while we were out there. And so then I got to go and speak at the thing, and they gave me this award, and now I'm in front of all these people that were praying for me, and they get to see the person that they were praying for. It was pretty cool. Yeah. This is all kind of grotesque war trophies from Ukraine. This, off of a dead Russian soldier. All these right after Zoom, when we got all these came out of a pile of Russian soldiers that were fighting, and the Ukrainians killed them, and the fighting positions we were right in front of, right when they were killing them. This was all their ammo from those fighting positions. So I just took a bunch and put it in my pocket. And so there you go. You can have one.
Wow.
So yeah, this was in a Zoom. So Russia's occupied a Zoom for 6 months, and there was a mass grave of 1,400 women and children there. And so we were asked by the solo special operations liaison officer to go confirm that it was true, because clearly Ukrainians could say that for more money or whatever. So they wanted confirmation that, hey, is there really 1,400, a mass grave of 1,400 people there? So we went, Sea Spray and I went in and we confirmed it, leaked it to Fox News. And then right after that happened, the Russians closed the line behind us. And so now we're stuck in a Zoom with the Ukrainian forces, and the Russians are closing around. They had MiGs flying over, dropping bombs, indirect fire landing within 100 yards of us. That's the beginning of that book, when I call Hunter. I mean, windows are blowing out of buildings, and we were with the Ukrainians as they fought their way out. And I got videos on my phone, like just lines of Russian soldiers dead, like dead and dying. And yeah, so there was one fighting position that I went by, and there was just a big pile of casings where they were fighting, and just picked them up and put it in my pocket. There's some shrapnel from. So the Recon paddles are significant to Marine reconnaissance and special operations. That's more tradition in history. These flags were flown. This flag was flown over the U.S. Embassy in Kabul while I was out on operation. So they flew two of them above for me and my buddy as we were out on operation. And then they took them down and gave them to us with those certificates. And this was flown over our JSOC unit while we were out on operation for us. Those flags were flown while we were out operating.